Back to politics and new remarks from Mitt Romney's surrogate John Sununu that has sparked an uproar on Twitter. That's just one place. And a heated response coming in from the Obama campaign. The former New Hampshire governor made the comment on a Romney campaign conference call just this morning. Take a listen.
The men and women all over America who have worked hard to build these businesses, their businesses, from the ground up, is how our economy became the envy of the world. It is the American way, and I wish this president would learn how to be an American.
Let me bring back Democratic strategist Jimmy Williams, Republican strategist Danny Vargas. Gentlemen, this started to trend on Twitter almost immediately after the remarks. Let me play the follow-up. Governor Sununu was asked to clarify minutes or seconds later. Here's how he tried to clarify the remarks.
What I thought I said, but I guess I didn't say, is that the president has to learn the American formula for creating business. The American formula for creating business is not to have government create business. The American formula for creating business that I wish he would get comfortable with is to create a climate in which entrepreneurs can thrive. If I didn't give all that detail, I apologize.
Danny, is that enough?
I think it is. Look, you know, it was a faux pas, just like the president made a faux pas with regard to entrepreneurs and innovators. I think there was a faux pas on Governor Sununu's part as well. So I think, but we're at the point now where I think, you know, we've spent so much time, frankly, in the media talking about some of these side issues and grammatical errors and so forth. What we really need to talk about is the important issues. The fact that we're borrowing $3 billion a day to keep this government spending going. We've got to be able to talk about jobs and the economy and come together, not just as Democrats and Republicans, but as Americans, to find solutions to these big, huge issues that we do need to address. The more time that we spend on these side issues and things that are frankly non sequiturs, I think that's more of a distraction. And frankly, the Obama campaign, which in 2008 was about hope and change, this year has become about distract and blame. We've got to get focused like a laser on what the important issues are. And from a Republican standpoint, part of that is Obama's failed record over the last 3.5 years.
Okay, so the Obama campaign's response to this, Jimmy, in part says the Romney campaign has officially gone off the deep end. The question is what else they'll put to avoid answering serious questions about Romney's tenure at Bain Capital and investments in foreign tax havens and offshore accounts. This meltdown and over-the-top rhetoric won't make things better. It only calls attention to how desperate they are to change the conversation. And again, I bring up the point when Governor Sununu starts talking about the American way, it seems like such an easy opening for Democrats to say, is the American way to put money in offshore accounts?
Look, Governor Sununu, this is not the first time he has let his mouth overload his butt, as my grandmother used to say. But here's the biggest problem with this. This feeds into that whole doublespeak, which is that Barack Obama is not an American, that Barack Obama doesn't get business, that Barack Obama is a community organizer, that he's a Muslim, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all a bunch of crap. And I think that the campaign is correct to call him out on this. I think that if Governor Sununu just apologized and said that is not what I meant, I didn't mean to offend, then that can be put behind him. However, the problem here is that it does feed into the narrative that you just talked about. This line narrative about how offshoring accounts, Cayman Islands, Bermuda, Switzerland, et cetera, et cetera. It is whether or not Governor Romney is going to be able to have a conversation with average working class Americans who don't have any of those things, who bounce checks, who shop at Walmart. When you say those kinds of things, it feeds into racial stereotypes. It's not a good idea. I think it's debasing of the office of the presidency. I can tell you this. I know that Al Gore during the campaign called George Bush un-American, and it was wrong then, and it's wrong now for Governor Sununu to suggest exactly the same thing about Barack Obama. This is the President of the United States, the leader of the free world. We can have a civilized discourse. Saying that they're not American or don't understand America is wrong, and he should apologize for it.
Look, Cameron, I would add this. Look, the reality is that the vast majority of Republicans are not of the ilk that would question the president's Americanism or patriotism him or anything along those lines. I believe he's a country-loving, patriotic American. I just think he happens to be wrong. I think his policies have failed. I think he has a vision for America that, according to polls, the vast majority of Americans, something like 70% of Americans, think is the wrong direction. So that's what the conversation ought to be about. It shouldn't be about missteps and quotes that are taken out of context. It should be about those fundamental issues that we should, I agree, Jimmy, we should have a civilized conversation about the direction this country is going in.
Well, absolutely the direction of the country, but Danny, those same polls still show the president leading Mitt Romney with all of the problems you say are the legitimate ones that, at least in your opinion, he is not handling in the right way. But with that said, I want to play this new ad from the Romney campaign featuring, of all people, Hillary Clinton. She's taken issue with the ad. Let me play a little portion of the ad and what Secretary Clinton has said in response.
When a president doesn't tell the truth, how can we trust him to lead? The Obama outsourcing attacks, misleading, unfair, and untrue. There was no evidence that Mitt Romney shipped jobs overseas. Candidate Obama lied about Hillary Clinton.
So shame on you, Barack Obama. I think it's a waste of money. I mean, everybody knows I ran against President Obama in 2008. That's hardly news. Everybody knows we ran a hard-fought campaign. And he won, and I have been honored to serve as his Secretary of State.
Danny, is that even smart to put her in that ad? Is that, as she put it out, is that wasted money there by the Romney campaign?
Well, no, I think, you know, it sort of feeds into the narrative that President Obama will do or say anything to get elected because he can't talk about his record over the last 3.5 years. It's about bringing up all these side issues about Bain and some of the other things about character and so forth. What we really need to be able to focus on is on President Obama's record and the fact that his policies have failed. So to the extent that using Hillary Clinton's own words from 2008, saying that Barack Obama will do or say anything to get elected, I think it's salient. Is it the best use of our time and money as a campaign? I don't know, but I think it's part of it is part of that narrative.
So will the next ads feature former President Clinton saying that Mitt Romney needs to release those taxes, that Mitt Romney's tax plan will hurt the middle class? If you're going to use people conveniently, at least pick and choose. Why not open up the vault and use the whole thing?
Well, ask the Obama campaign if they're going to do that.
No, I ask if Romney will use the words, critical words from former President Bill Clinton just last week. You just use the ones that obviously you want.
What you can get from former President Clinton during the 2008 campaign was that the Obama campaign did he played the race card against Bill Clinton, who, you know, some people used to call him the first black president. Yeah. So I think he was upset about that. So you might see some of that coming out in the Romney campaign. But
and
just
I would hope that you would say that it was a distraction and not talking about the issues that matter, which is what you said earlier. Jimmy, I'll let you get the last word on this one.
Well, listen, Danny just said that the president's not running on his record. I hate to break the news to you, Danny, but you may not watch Barack Obama when he goes out on the political stump and makes his speeches every single day across Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and across the country. Guess what? He does talk about his record every single day, and he has for the last 6 months. And he talks about the 4.4 million jobs of the 8 million jobs that were lost that have now been created under his watch. He didn't create them, but they've been created under his watch. He's talked about 28 months of straight growth in GDP. Guess what? That's his record, and he is running on it. So for Republicans to run around saying that he's not running on his record, he is running on his record, and he's also bringing into question whether or not Mitt Romney's qualified to lead this country. You can do both at the same time, and that's okay.
But he's not talking about the 41 straight months of unemployment over 8%. He's not talking about the fact that we increased our national debt by nearly 50% since he's been in office, and that we're looking at a $26 trillion national debt in the next 10 years, according to his 2013 budget.
But to counter that, Danny, to counter that is Governor Romney saying how he would repair those other than providing tax breaks to the wealthiest Americans. What specifically has Governor Romney laid out as a plan? What cuts would he make to improve the deficit situation in this country? What would he do immediately to help these people get back to work? His first day on the job ads have been, I might say, quite vague there.
Well, he does. He does have a 59-point plan, which talks about some of these details. Let me tell you what's going to create jobs in the short term immediately, and that's providing the private sector, those small business owners that we talked about, providing some level of certainty with regards to taxes and regulations.
Did that work for the past 11 years? Did that work in the last 11 years that we've had the Bush tax cuts?
Looking into the next 5 or 10 years as to what those small businesses can expect. Because there's, frankly, the private sector, there's many corporations that are flush with cash. They're holding on to that cash right now because they don't know what the future will hold, and particularly with the Affordable Care Act, there are still thousands and thousands of pages of regulations still yet to be written by bureaucrats, and they have absolutely no idea what the impact is going to be.
Hey,
so
Cameron, go ahead.
Working together, if we can provide that level of certainty to small business owners, that's what jobs are going to be created.
I'm glad Danny brought up the 59-point plan that's in Governor Romney's website. If you go to his website, one of the pieces of that is Governor Romney advocates going to a territorial tax system. You know what that means in plain speak for average Americans? It means that U.S. companies would have absolutely no taxes collected if they ship jobs overseas. Right. That is a plain, absolute, unadulterated, you can't dispute it fact. And if Governor Romney thinks that part of his economic plan to cure this country is to go to a territorial tax system, and when he becomes president of the United States, then watch American corporations ship jobs overseas every single day to the tune of almost 1 million jobs per year. Guaranteed will happen.
Let's talk about taxes. The Democrats right now are saying that they're going to hold the economy hostage if they can't get this tax increase for folks making over $250,000. The reality is that that's going to affect a lot of small businesses who are filing as LLCs and us.
98% of small businesses will be affected.
And to point, according to a new poll, people were asked 2 to 1. They support raising taxes on incomes above $250,000 because those people believe. Let's be serious about it. Those people believe that it would help the economy rather than hurt. And we know 11 years of Bush tax cuts certainly don't have us with money falling from trees. Last I checked. Danny, I'm out of time. I will bring you back tomorrow. Jimmy, I will bring. And Danny, you bring the 59-point plan for Governor Romney. We'll go through it point by point if you'd like. Thank you.